Well, good afternoon or good morning or whatever time of day it is where you're watching this next installment of Huddle Up with the Fun Coach. I'm Mark Duncan, and I'm the Fun Coach, and I'm excited to be with you today. Happy second day after Giving Tuesday. I hope those of you who are watching had and did a Giving Tuesday initiative. I hope it was successful. I hope you raised lots of money. And I hope that you are excited about what can come from that. So many times when nonprofit organizations engage in these one day giving events, whether it's Giving Tuesday or there are a lot of organizations that have their own uh, version of that, what happens is they get excited, they build up, they have a great day, they have some success, and then they celebrate, claim victory, uh, and keep it moving. And I think they need to, and you need to consider what the opportunities are that are in front of you as a result of Giving Tuesday. And so we're going to talk about some of that today. I'm really, really excited because I will be uh, bringing a guest on for the first time. Really excited to have him with me and with us to engage in this conversation. I hope those of you who are watching are please feel free to comment and uh, and raise any questions that you might have. But we're going to be talking today with Noah Simon. Noah Simon is from a company called Windfall. And Windfall is a wonderful company that provides fantastic wealth screening services. And so you've heard me on here talk about the importance of wealth screening. Today, we're going to be bringing on an expert who will talk about wealth screening and particularly how it's done at Windfall, but really why you should do wealth screening and not just for capital campaigns. So, with that, I am excited to bring on Noah Simon from Windfall. Noah, thanks for joining me today, and it's
Yeah,
good to
hey
see you.
Mark. It's good to see you too. Excited for this huddle up. Thanks
Yeah,
for having me on.
excellent, excellent. So before we get started, if you could tell everyone a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Windfall and what you do at Windfall.
Yeah, sure. Actually yesterday was my 2-year anniversary at Windfall. That means
Congratulations, that's
it's
great.
our 2-year anniversary because I think I met you the first week I joined Windfall.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
wow!
happy anniversary to us.
Happy anniversry to us. This is
Yeah,
great. This is
yeah.
great. And just full disclosure for those of you who are watching, Noah and I, we do work very closely together. Full disclosure, uh, Windfall is a company that I believe in strongly and has been a phenomenal asset for me as a fundraising coach, a phenomenal resource for my clients. That's not what we're here to talk about today, but I got to tell you, I love this company, and it's been a pleasure working with Noah, who has really been instrumental in helping those folks who work with me. And there have been some significant results that have come from that. And if any of you are watching, feel free to chime in about how helpful the services from Windfall have been. But happy anniversary, and I'm glad to be celebrating with you live in front of whoever's watching.
Yeah, well, I think it's been awesome working with you over the past 2 years, and I think we kind of naturally complement one another. Here at Windfall, we kind of help marry in the art and the science of fundraising, right? We're kind of bringing in the science with our data. And then, I know that you're working with your customers to help with kind of the art of the relationship development. And so, just as a little bit more background for me here, I've been at Windfall for 2 years, but prior to Windfall was working with a company called Blackbaud, which I'm sure, many of the folks that are on the line may be familiar with. And so I've been helping nonprofits for, gosh, the past 7 years now, leverage technology and leverage data to really kind of further their mission and achieve the organizational outcomes that they're focused on. So it's been great. Love working with these organizations. Work with all different types of nonprofit organizations, from very small, kind of one full-time executive director run style organizations, all the way up to like your major universities and healthcare systems and everything in between. So I think at the end of the day, every organization can benefit from data, and that's what we do here at Windfalls. We help organizations leverage wealth intelligence to kind of prioritize and direct their focus.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what Windfall provides. I mean, there are a number of wealth screening services out there that have been around for quite a while, but I believe Windfall stands alone in terms of the services that it provides. So talk a little bit about that, and then we can get into conversation about the importance of wealth screening and why it's so beneficial for nonprofits to have it.
Sure, sure. Well, so we say here at Windfall, kind of our vision is to help organizations change the way that they understand and engage their affluent donors. And so uh, Windfall was founded 6 years ago by a team of really smart, talented executives that come from the world of kind of data science and data. And so from the very outset, Windfall has been built on kind of a foundation of quality data, and then leveraging data science and machine learning capabilities to model out a precise net worth at the household level. So we are truly kind of a data company, a data science shop, I like to say. We're not a software platform, which has really been kind of the focus for the legacy wealth screening providers, is they were kind of built as software platforms, and then they would go out and kind of aggregate and purchase data to surface up through their platforms. There's a lot of issues that we can talk about and challenges with that historical model versus kind of what we're doing here at Windfall by leveraging kind of the machine learning platform and focusing on a precise household net worth.
Yeah, and that has been the thing that I have found the most valuable. Obviously, is that precise household net worth, knowing exactly what you're dealing with when you're engaging with particularly those donors that you haven't built relationships with before. It's always sort of the missing piece. I often on this platform talk about, and know you've heard me say this, link, interest, and ability. So, making sure that there is a link to that donor, and usually that is a board member, or they're a user of your services, or there's some link that is connected to your organization. Interest, how interested are they in your mission? What are they particularly interested in? And then finally, ability. And that's always the one, which is, what Windfall actually helps to fill that gap, is ability or capacity to be able to give in a significant way. So Noah, from your perspective, as a service provider, what have you found to be beneficial about organizations engaging in wealth screening?
Yeah, well, I love the way that you talk about LIA, the link, interest, and ability, right? And so, kind of in the simplest terms, just helping organizations understand who their wealthy constituents are, right? And then being able to kind of stack rank and prioritize, and then engage those individuals at the right time with the right message, with the right ask, right? And so, if you don't understand ability or capacity, then you really can't make informed decisions on who to focus on, who to prioritize, and then how to make kind of those asks at the right time. And so, by layering in wealth data and wealth screening data, you can really kind of maximize kind of your efforts and direct your limited team resources kind of on the actions that are going to drive the most impact and move the needle around your fundraising efforts.
Yeah. One thing that's important to mention that you and I can certainly take for granted, but I don't want to take for granted here, is the importance of having a CRM, a database. There are some nonprofits out there, many of whom I've worked with, that are operating off of a very static spreadsheet. I'm thankful that they're keeping data, but in terms of being able to have that data be dynamic and serve you and help you analyze your fundraising efforts, it's important to have a CRM. As you're engaging in your work, and particularly as you're engaging in wealth screening. So Noah, give me some examples of how an organization can like miss out on a big gift if they don't have, if they don't know who the
Mhm.
folks in their universe are.
Yeah, well, I think the way that, if an organization hasn't done well screening or is kind of new to well screening, the way that they would kind of traditionally prioritize you to focus on is they would look at people who have donated in the past and at what levels have they donated. And then maybe kind of layer in some just institutional knowledge like, does this person live in a big house? Do they drive a nice car? Right. And so, they've kind of relied on the obvious indicators of who's wealthy and who's kind of willing to give. Well, if you don't understand the wealth of the individuals in your database, then yeah, you can miss out on people that are kind of right under your nose, those hidden gems that we like to call them. So by well screening every single individual in your Excel sheet or in your CRM, you can uncover folks that have these kind of higher net worth and capacity, and maybe they've only given $10 every year, or maybe they've never donated, but they've engaged with your organization and attended an event or been a volunteer, right? And now you can see that they have this high net worth and capacity to give, and is somebody that you'd want to focus kind of additional relationship efforts on.
So I know that those of you who are watching this live or watching this on the replay are probably thinking, well, how do they get all this information? And are they, digging into uh, people's lives that they shouldn't be, or how intrusive are they being? And so many who are viewing this will think that this is kind of icky, right? So Noah, talk about sort of the ethics of wealth screening, and particularly, where this data comes from, so that everyone understands um, that you're doing this in a way that is ethical and appropriate.
Yeah, I think it's a really important topic, especially kind of in this day and age where there are bad actors out there trying to kind of misuse data, or buying and selling and reselling data. It's really important to be um, or to take kind of a data privacy and really data security first approach. And that's what we do here at Windfall. The way that we build out our net worth and where we source our data comes from the public domain, and then we use those data inputs with our machine learning modeling platform to kind of fill in the gaps, right? And so we're not buying data, we're not reselling the data that we maintain, and we actually never return any kind of personally identifiable data, right? Wealth screening is not a new concept; it's been around for years, um, but there are approaches that are really important to take when you think about data privacy and data security.
So the ethics of this, the integrity of the data, is not something that is compromised when organizations are working with Windfall. I mean, and I think it's an important thing to emphasize, um, because this is it's a very confidential business that we're in, and those of us who are nonprofit leaders, and particularly those of us who are board members of these organizations, need to understand the importance of confidentiality. It is okay to have conversations about the donors that you unearth through wealth screening, as long as you're doing so with the understanding that there is a high degree of confidentiality, so that you can actually have meaningful conversations, which lead to securing, some significant gifts for the organization. No, talk about some success stories from clients that you've had, who've done wealth screenings and have had some success. And I'll tell one story that you're probably aware of, just from my experience working with Windfall. But share some of the stories that you might have.
Yeah, well, there's a lot, and that's what makes this work fun is that we get to help these nonprofits further their mission and drive more impact in the communities that they're serving. I think one that I like to talk about is just because I have a personal passion for cycling and biking, and so worked with kind of a smaller bicycle coalition out in San Francisco. They'd never done well screening, smaller organization. The executive director was kind of doing most of the fundraising work, and so they started well screening with Windfall. And the executive director noticed, a name of an individual that surfaced as one of their kind of wealthiest donors, but this person had only been giving about $100 a year in response to their annual campaign and appeal. And so the executive director recognized that this was somebody that was participating in their group rides frequently, and so she on the next group ride went out and spent some time talking to this individual, explaining some of their upcoming projects and funding needs. And then at the end of the ride, that donor made a substantial five-figure commitment to support their next big project. And so, that executive director would have never known to kind of seek out that individual and spend time kind of cultivating that relationship had they not surfaced through the well screening that they were doing with Windfall. So I think that was a really cool example and just kind of a fun way to do fundraising, out on a bike ride, right?
Yeah. And one thing that's important about that story and the fact that that donor was giving, $100, um, you know, sometimes now you have to sort of look under the hood and say, well, why were they only giving $100? Or the assumption that we can mistakenly make is, oh, this person only gives us $100. They're never going to give us any more money. I see them giving money to these other big organizations across town, but they're not giving it to us. So I just don't think it's worth it. And my response to that is, did you ask them? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's one thing to know this information and to understand that you've got wealthy individuals right under your nose, right in your database. And what you need to do now is build a relationship with them, make the case, make the ask, and close the deal. You will not get a six-figure, seven-figure gift um, by osmosis. It just rare.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen. You have to build a relationship, make the case for support for your organization, and ultimately ask. And it takes time to do that. But knowing this information is really, really key, and really can cut down a lot of guesswork, as you move forward. And I'll tell one story that I have. And again, this was, organization that was actually on the verge of no longer existing, closing, and we connected. They worked with me, and we connected them to Windfall to do wealth screening, and that gave them the confidence to see what capacity existed within their database. And I think this is a small organization, and I'm forgetting the number of individuals that had a net worth of 1 million or more, but it was at least 150 to 200, way more than what they thought. And so that gave them the confidence, particularly since they knew them too, much like the story you just shared. And so they were able to reach out and begin to develop those relationships with a strategy now in mind. And I'll be candid. This site, this organization had to raise $600,000 cash in the door in 5 months, and they were able to do it with a couple of days to spare. And now because of that, they're going to be around for as long as they want to be. And it was because of the information we got from wealth screening, and of course, working with them to make sure that they were connecting with those individuals, soliciting them, and making those asks and closing the deals. And huge difference. And so if you're out there, you're listening to this, or you're watching this on a replay, I highly recommend that you do wealth screening. You've heard me say this before. It's an investment, but the return on the investment is well worth it. Whomever you go with, of course, Windfall, to me and my understanding is they're the only game in town that will provide uh, the actual household net worth for you, and they will be able to tell you, particularly those folks in your universe that have a net worth of 1 million or more, and that can be a game changer, as you know. So one last question, and then we will wrap up. And if anybody's watching and has any questions, you want to drop them in the comment section, please do so. I should be able to see them. And if you are doing it on the replay, I will do my best to respond to any questions you might have. But Noah, how
Oh,
often?
if I could just
Yeah,
extend something that we were kind of just talking about, as you're talking about kind of the compelling case to leverage a wealth screening tool. One of the things that I want to encourage organizations to think about is the idea that this is an opportunity that you can capitalize on quickly, right?
yeah,
Especially coming out of Giving Tuesday, was just a couple of days ago. A lot of organizations will see some kind of new donors come in the door. By well screening those individuals, this is a great opportunity to start kind of developing those relationships that can kind of yield fruit maybe next year, or even as we're closing out this year, and wealthy households are looking to maximize their donations and kind of tax credits, right? So we see a lot of donation revenue and contributions coming in still through the next couple of weeks, right? And so by well screening, you can capitalize on the new donors that are coming in the door, but then also kind of, like you said, lay the foundation for developing those longer term relationships as well. So
yeah.
uh, there really is a compelling case here.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. And at the top of this, we talked about the fact that Giving Tuesday was a couple of days ago, and sometimes we treat it as an isolated incident, and it shouldn't be. It should be an opportunity for you to have new donors come, and give to your organization. And some people will uh, opt in. If you get a gift of $100, $150 on a Giving Tuesday, that's nothing to sneeze at, particularly if it's coming from a new donor. I often say that when donors do that, they're raising their hands saying, "Hey, I'm here, and if you learn more about me, there's more to come."
Mhm.
And that's where the wealth screening comes in. And so, if you had a successful Giving Tuesday, first thing I recommend that you do is look at how many new donors you have. I think you should call every single person, new or old, just to say thank you for participating in Giving Tuesday, but then screen all of your new donors so that you can see where there's opportunity for growth, because I guarantee you there will be. It's really, really key. And speaking of that, and uh, one last question here: how often should organizations do wealth screening?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it really kind of depends. But one of the things that I just want to share, this is unique to Windfall in the way that we support our customers and our subscription model. It's completely unlimited. So as a customer with Windfall, you can screen your entire database, unlimited records at an unlimited frequency, and so that really is kind of a mindset shift from the way that historical well screening has been done, where as an organization you might do one major screening at the beginning of the year and then use those results. I've heard organizations relying on those results over a 3-year period. Well, wealth screening is it's not static, right? It's dynamic. There's wealth creation and wealth destruction events that occur, and as your database grows, you want to be able to screen and rescreen on an ongoing basis. So I think on average we see customers screening their entire database every month or every quarter, but we do have some customers that screen more frequently, on a weekly basis. But as a customer with Windfall, you're able to have that option, right? And be
Yeah.
able to capitalize on, understanding, have there been any kind of liquidity events
Mhm.
with your constituents and donors that signal now is a good time to reach out to them, or have there been kind of other trigger events that are important to be aware of, as you're developing this relationship with kind of your top prospects. So ongoing screening, unlimited screening is something that we offer and encourage.
Yeah, that's great. And thanks for mentioning that, the fact that Windfall is able to identify those events that occur that could be positive or negative. And it's important, even if it's negative, because you certainly don't want to make an ask or approach someone who has experienced something that has had a negative impact on their net worth. That doesn't mean that you don't continue to build a relationship with them, but it just will help you check your timing, and maybe you wait a little bit before you move forward with an ask.
And
And,
I
and
think that
this, yeah, go
goes
ahead.
back to the ethics question that you asked earlier, is that donors appreciate you as an organization understanding how they should be engaged, right?
Yeah,
So it's really having intelligence and making kind of some of these data driven decisions on how to engage individuals is really the best way to do business. So, just to your point about understanding maybe some of those kind of life events that are good to be aware of, I think that's really important. And both sides of the table can appreciate that.
yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And again, these are things that I often take for granted because I've been at this for so long. Um, but you're absolutely right. Donors, particularly donors who have a high net worth, they get this. They understand this. They are expecting you.
Yeah.
Seriously, they are
You're competing for
expecting.
their donor wallet share, right? The other organizations are reaching out to these people.
Absolutely. And the difference between today and maybe 40 years ago is that when 40 years ago, right around this time, December, people would start to get all of these requests in the mail. And there were folks of a certain generation that would take every single request, lay it out on the table, and write a check out and send it in. And it was very transactional, but they also felt, very compelled, to give because they received something. It's different today. Most donors are passionate about two or three organizations, and that's about it. And the things that they get in the mail, they will only focus on the things that are important to them. And quite frankly, if the organizations are smart, they've already built a relationship with them that doesn't require a direct mail piece to come because they understand their capacity, their link, and their interest. And so, they are expecting you. Anybody who's watching this right now, and I don't know who this is for, but you nonprofit organizations, particularly those of you that have been around for a while, but you haven't really engaged in relationship fundraising. You've done direct mail, you've done events, you've done all of the other things, which, quite frankly, are perfect ways to feed your wealth screening process. People who come to your events, you should be wealth screening them even before they come. People who who've given to you for the first time through direct mail, you should be wealth screening them. People who give online, you should be wealth screening them. Anything, and particularly with a service like this where you can do it as often as you'd like, it really does pay off. So Noah, I want to thank you for joining me today. For those of you who just tuned in, we've spent this time talking about the importance of wealth screening. You've heard me talk about it often. I will continue to talk about the importance of it. And I hope this has been valuable to all of you who have watched this. And you're certainly welcome to watch it on the replay. And Noah, again, happy anniversary. In terms of
Likewise.
being part of Windfall, and happy anniversary to us. I feel like we should have, if I had known, I would have arranged for some sort of virtual toast. But have something to drink sometime today, and I'll do the same, and we'll consider that our
Awesome.
joint celebration.
For
Um,
sure.
Noah, thanks so much for being here, and I want to thank everybody for joining in today. For those of you who watched live or on the replay, great conversation. Wealth screening, really important thing to do. Windfall is a great company. Windfall.com, WINDFALL.com. Check them out. And I encourage you to consider engaging in those services because it's important to your organization and to your organization's philanthropy, because none of this is about the dollars. Fundraising is never about the dollars. It's about what the dollars do for the people that we serve. We'll see you next.